most thought-provoking hour of the day, dropping jewels and nuggets for the next 60 minutes. For us, by us. You're listening to the Hold Your Point podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Peace to the planet, wherever we finding you at right now. Hope we do find you in good spirits. This is the Hold Your Point podcast, and we are the Hold Your Point podcast crew. And you know, on our platform, man, we talk about Black culture and experience, little Christian and millennial lens. And you know, we got the usual suspects in the house, man. We got Levi Strauss, Michael Joseph, Daryl James, DTH. What's going on, fellas? How y'all feeling?
What up? What up?
Life good, living great.
Yo, what's happening, y'all?
Mm-hmm. So, man,
what's up with you, bro?
Not much, man. Not much. Y'all already know how it go. The week been crazy, but you know, work as it goes. I'm getting ready for a nice July, but we'll see how that go. But anyway, I'm happy to be here, chop it up with y'all tonight. And make sure you like and subscribe this video if you're watching this, by the way. But what about y'all? How y'all doing, man?
Well, blessed, man. Blessed and highly favored. I feel like I say that every night, but hey, man, if you don't say it, then you know what I'm saying? You got to say it. If you feel blessed, say it. If you're happy, you know it.
Clap your
Anyways,
hands.
but no, man, it's Friday, so first time doing a pod on a Friday. Feels a little, you know what I'm saying? It feels a little off. But you know, it's good to know that whatever day we willing to come and, you know, provide the people what they need, you know what I'm saying? So
that's right, man. Bringing that heat. Yeah, man, everything good, man. It's good to see y'all.
But you look sleepy, but
hey, it's late night.
Take the smoothness out your voice, Mike.
Nah, man. It's not the radio DJ voice, late night. The long week Friday voice. But nah, you know, everything good, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, blessed and highly favored. Good to see y'all again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I was out of town a little bit for the past couple of days. I had to go up north for a trip, but I'm back. I came back Wednesday. So had to take care of some business, get some things done, and then head back here. So hopefully there wouldn't be any more of those for a little bit. But thank God everything going well, and you know, everything's copacetic, as I like to say, you know.
Indeed.
Yeah, to take care of some business.
Hey
man, and happy belated Father's Day too, Mr. Mike Joseph, you know what I'm saying? And the fathers to be, DTH and Daryl James, they ain't fathers yet, but 2023 we're gonna make it happen.
How you leave Levi out though?
Why I can't be a father? Good Lord Almighty.
Hey, Levi might drop. Who knows? I'm just saying.
Hey, Levi might have something out here already.
I don't know what y'all talking about. Hey.
For real, man. No, man. That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know, so we got a real great topic we want to dive right into on this tantalizing Friday. It's not Tuesday. And you know, we're gonna jump in, man. We want to take it back, and you know, we really want to start from the top, man, with the basics and get into some of the creation. Like, I know we could talk about creation, like, you know, all day long, but like just really going back to the aspects that, like, you know, nobody can refute, right? Like the creation of the land and the grass and the trees, and like science, no man can refute, like, you know, it was created and stuff like that. So we're gonna take it back a little bit and talk about creation just a bit. And you know, right off the bat, man, off the high board, I wanted to ask y'all, man, like, you know, what y'all think came first? Was it the evening, or was it, you know, the day? The night or the day?
Well,
I did the day.
What does the word say?
The night.
The word is not clear.
I mean, well, you know, for people who might not, you know, be absolutely familiar with the biblical perspective.
Break it down.
Yeah,
So So I'm gonna say that the light. I'm gonna say the light was first, because there was no there was an empty void, right? There was nothing on the earth, right? I'm just gonna say nothing. There was nothing on the earth, and then God said, "Let there be light," and it was light, right? So I would have to say the light came first.
But then didn't it have to be night before it be light?
Mike dropping the hot bars right
Well, I
here.
mean, it does rhyme, but I mean, just
Uh,
I didn't even hear what he said, man. He still got the smooth R&B voice on. What did he say?
He said, "Don't it got to be night before it be light to get it right?"
hey, just
Nah,
get tight. But
there was nothing. It was nothing. It was just a I don't even know how you will say it. It was just that's it. There was nothing there.
mm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Okay, DJ
it
said it
could have been
wasn't.
gray. You know what I'm saying?
nah,
It just could have been a gray day or gray. I don't know, but I'll say the light came first.
DJ said the light came first. What y'all
wait,
think?
what? I thought the dark. Okay, hold on. So, all right, to answer the question,
Damn, I heard him feelings. Go ahead.
to
Go
answer
ahead.
the question, as soon as Mike get back, I definitely think night comes first, or if you want to say darkness before the light. I mean, if you look at all the little scriptures and how it's broken down in Genesis, it always ends with, and the evening and the morning were the first day, and the evening and the morning were the second day, blah, blah, blah. And it's always listed in that order. Like, and just to kind of like look at it that way, it's like, I thought DJ was getting to a point where he was saying like the darkness was first, right? So it was only darkness and then there was light. And then that is what became the first thing. But it was first darkness. There wasn't like a light first and then darkness. Like, you know what I'm saying? But so I would say darkness first or night first and then morning. And then, I know, I'm gonna be putting the horse before the cart or whatever, cart before the horse, however they say it.
Come on with
But
the main course, Weaver.
Ain't no however
yeah.
they say it. There's a right way to say it.
Well, look, I said it the way I said it. But nah, I mean, if you look at it from this, like, and you look further on in scripture, like, the Sabbath, starts from Friday night. You know what I'm saying? You always count your Sabbath from, it's funny, we're doing this part on a Friday night, that, the Sabbath starts from tonight. And that's when, you have, you, and then it goes into tomorrow morning. And then after that, it's the next day. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's night first and then day. I don't know about y'all, y'all.
Yeah, but what you said, the evening to the morning, but that was after he put that that was after he created, right? That was after the light. So then after he
I
let
mean,
there be
sure,
light,
sure.
then he start naming the days like that. So that's my only kickback on it. But DTH or Mike can jump on in on that.
Well, I tend to agree with what Levi said because there is the pattern there in Genesis 1 of each day being evening and the morning, and that was the first, second, third day, so on and so forth. I think it kind of depends on how the question is asked, though, because if you're talking about what was there first, what was first, I think that would be the darkness, because the first day he created the light. So before the light, there was just darkness. But if you ask him what was created first, then it would be the light, because the very first time, the very first thing that we've seen
That's how I'm
created,
looking at it. Yeah,
he
that's how
created
I'm looking
that.
at it. Cause that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It
So,
was nothing. It's just
so is the
nothing.
question flawed? I'm just like, I'm just joking.
Question could be,
I'm just joking. Nah,
what
it's
what
a
That's
good way
just
to
kind
look
of
at it. It's a good way to look at it.
Fortune. What you think?
And it is true. I agree with you. The first thing
I
that was
mean,
created would be light. That was the first thing created.
but the absence of light is darkness. So it's like, the darkness in a sense was
But the earth was
created
formed.
just like we'll get to like the water, but it's like, the darkness is just like it just wasn't mentioned, but it was obviously like everything that was created by God. So even the darkness itself
I concur.
was created by God. So it's the light came
sure.
on when he needed it to, but the darkness was already there, which is a whole another.
But
Okay.
along with that, though, I mean, the thing is, like, the earth itself, because the way that it's told to us in Genesis, the first thing that we see created is the light, right? That's the first thing that's mentioned that's
Actually,
created.
it's heavens and earth, but
And okay, yes, that's right. So what I'm saying is the light is the first part, really, when we're talking about the creation story, right? That's really the first day, the seventh day, that first week. But obviously, like you said, the earth was already there. So that's something I think sometimes people may overlook or may not realize. The earth was without form and darkness was over the face of the deep. So the earth was there. He didn't create the earth during the first 7 days. It had already been there.
Yeah.
So, and he had already, obviously he created it. So now light, is darkness something that's created, or is it, I think what
that's a
Yonata
great
was kind of
question.
saying, it's just when you don't
The
have light,
absence of light.
it's just
Yeah.
the absence of light, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not like, can anyone here, like, as humans, right? We have light bulbs and light has been created, right? But can anyone create darkness? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that something that's created?
The
Or
only
is
way
it
I can think
when-
of is if I
Mhm.
kill light. You know what I mean?
So you just get rid of the light. So then you
That's the
have,
only way I think of creating darkness.
yeah.
Of course.
So
Yeah, that I would
so
say.
that just kind of it is. It's just it
It's
is,
just
right?
there.
You can't create it. It's just, if you
It's
just
just
remove the
there.
light, then the absence
But
of light.
I
That's what
mean,
dark. Yeah.
I agree, but I think like to a certain extent, like we can only fathom to what we're capable of. So like, yeah, I mean logically it makes sense. It's just because light is the only thing that we know that would shine through darkness. But like, you know, I don't know. Maybe in itself, like I don't know. But I think it's a good point though for sure. Like because darkness in itself doesn't seem like it would be created. It's just the absence of anything just being in it. So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But all right, so the next thing I wanted to ask y'all, right? Because we're gonna get in a little deeper. But if the sky was made between the waters, right? Because it said that he divided the firmament from the firmament, right? So if the sky was made between the waters, has man ever made it past the firmament with space travel? Because you know he divided the waters from the waters, and the earth and the firmament, or the earth was in between. So, or the firmament was in between, I should say. Excuse me. So that means that there's water below the firmament, and then there's water above the firmament if the waters were divided. So if that's the case, like is there just maybe some portion of space above our atmospheric heaven that we've reached to, but we've never actually gone through the firmament?
I
It's
mean,
possible.
go ahead, Mike.
No, it's a possibility because we don't know what's out there. We can only see by what we see or what man has created as a what they use to see in space. But as far as that, like God could have created something way more bigger than what we can even imagine. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a
I,
possibility. That's what I think.
I don't know that we can verify it, right, with what the tools we have available to us today, but I would think so. I tend to believe so, that it's something that's out of reach, something that we can't see, because the Bible talks about Jesus going to prepare a place for us, right? So if that's the case, I mean, obviously there's so much of space that has yet to be explored and will never be explored, right? But from all indications from the scientists, the universe is continuing to expand. So when they look at the furthest reaches of the universe, as far as the telescopes and the machines that detect space can go, they see that it's spreading further. So like there's no end, right? So as far as I'm concerned, the heaven where God resides is not, it's not some other part of space. It's a whole other place. Now, whether that's, up or down, what does that mean in space, right? It could be in any kind of direction, but I believe it's a whole other place than just like some part of space that we haven't reached to. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's something you can ever reach to.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, y'all digging deeper than I would dig on it. I personally think when I read that verse, I was just thinking clouds, right? Nothing more, nothing less than that, because obviously it's not physical waters, right? It's not a physical something physical, but you know, the rain obviously comes from the clouds, and it can for sure obviously flood out a place, right? And I believe also it was a verse in Genesis. I don't remember which one it was, where God calls. I don't remember how it goes, but he caused it to rain, right, into water the land, right. So I don't think it's anything from space or anything like that. So yeah, I personally think when they talk about the firmament, it's the clouds and then obviously the body of water on land. So
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with that too. Like, especially like if you look at like kind of the description, especially on that like first day and how it's kind of like described, you have like waters above, waters below. And if you think about it, there's a lot of water, up in the atmosphere, where planes and stuff fly and all that, and where clouds accumulate in thunderstorms. There's a lot of water up there. There's also water, obviously, as we know, beneath us, around us here, and then the firmament, which would be atmosphere, the sky, where all that stuff is. Um, so just to kind of answer that, like, I mean, have we ever reached past that? I mean, we've only gone to the moon and so forth. But DJ brought up a good point with the expanding universe thing. Like, I've always kind of thought of that, um, kind of like as a extension of God's power, of extension of God's ability. Because when you think about it, I mean, when he said, "Let there be light," he didn't say, "Let there be light" for the next 8,000 years or whatever, and then stop, whatever. So I think when he said that, he kept going. That's how powerful he is. Like, it didn't stop. Like, he's this ever expanding light, and that's that's what they're really seeing. Like, that ever expanding power. Like, I don't know, this is my breakdown of it, my little philosophical breakdown of that, what that means.
Yo, but real quick, Fortunato. I was reading something a little bit that said like that's the Hebrew word to describe the firmament in Genesis is called rakia, I believe. And from what I was reading, most of the interpreters and the scholars, the description of firmament there is a solid structure. So I know that
Hmm.
we often will think that that firmament is just the sky, but like when we look at the sky today, it's not firm, right? Like we can pass through it. But from what I'm understanding, the most correct understanding of the Hebrew word that's used for firmament there, rakia, is actually a solid structure. And I actually had like a little image of a diagram that kind of depicted what it is, because I got to try to find a verse if I can, but they said there's somewhere that says the birds flew in front of it. They don't fly in it. Like the birds fly in the atmosphere, but they're not flying in front of it, right? That wouldn't make sense. So what I was reading was saying like it could be problematic to try to fit the um, the topography and the layout of the world as it began with what we understand today, because certain things that we read in the Bible, like we don't see that stuff today, right? Not everything is exactly the same. Like there's talk about giants and all kinds of stuff. We may talk about this kind of stuff later. But based on what we understand today, we would think that might be crazy, right? There's no people who are, taller than like 10 feet tall, but the Bible describes these things. So I say that to say, I mean, I tend to think the firmament is the sky, but I also don't think it necessarily has to be. And I think that there is a lot of descriptions that describes something, some kind of a structure that is
So you think we're
actually
like in
firm.
the globe? Like there's
That's
top
A
to the
dome.
earth, a dome.
that's kind of the image that they showed is like it kind of looks like a dome and it's on the earth, and then underneath that is, you know, the waters underneath, and above is there's waters above. And even in the account of Noah, it talks about the waters. I gotta try to find that again too, but it talks about the waters kind of being let through. And in the description there, what I was reading is like almost like passing through a window. So it's not like it's just free falling through nothing, but like it came through a window. That's kind of the description I was reading. So, you know,
Interesting.
I would think we don't have that now, right? We don't
That's
at
new.
least see a dome, but yeah.
But I
So
mean,
it's
even now, though, it's a lot of people. My bad, Mike. But even now, like it's a lot of people who starting to believe like that dome theory. That I mean, it's not really like a round maybe type of sphere Earth like
So
how
then
we.
I was just gonna say that. So that means the earth is not round, you don't think?
Man, y'all
well,
better
no,
not.
that I don't believe.
No,
That
I
I
mean,
don't
because if
believe.
you
we not
like
doing flat
how you
earthers
put
here,
it,
people.
but look, I
Please.
mean, but I'm saying like how you put a sphere in a dome, like unless it's just in a ball within like a bigger, you
Within
know
a
what I'm
ball, a
saying?
ball within a ball.
That could
Which
be
really
true
wouldn't
too.
make sense. I mean,
Well, yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I definitely don't think the Earth is flat. There's too much evidence, and
I definitely
even
want to see
biblical
what you're talking
evidence.
about, that Rockier thing. You might,
Yeah,
I don't know if you're talking about something maybe in Revelation, but
no,
yeah.
it's in Genesis, but I
we
mean, the
live in
Earth
a
is.
dome, everybody, right here on Hold Your Point podcast.
Yeah, the Earth is different. No, it's funny you said because I mean I even saw that too about the rag, but in other translations and other Bible, it's that feminine is it replaced with the word expansion. So whatever is, you know, there's different terms of it, but a lot of people feels like that is talking about expanding. So you're expanding whatever he came in and he expanded. So it's just like different translations from different Bible or books.
Mm.
True.
And because like there's a verse that says like how he put the light, like the greater light and the lesser light in the firmament as well. And the greater light he called day, and the lesser light he called night. So do y'all think like the sun and the moon is like within our atmosphere possibly as well, instead of it like being like, I mean, well, just I mean, I don't know what y'all think, because instead of it just being like in space, like way, 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 so far away, projecting on us, from that definition, if it's within our firmament or within our dome, possibly, is it within our atmosphere?
I don't think so. The reason why I don't think so is because basically the way the sun shines. Because I actually think the sun is it's actually like a white light that illuminates from the sun, and then when it hits our atmosphere, it changes colors. So in that way of thinking, I don't think so. I think it's definitely out in space, the sun and the moon.
Are you
So
about to
no,
are you about to drop an exclusive that we never went to the moon landing, Mr. DJ, on this Hold Your Point podcast?
that's Fortunato's theory. That's his
I
theory.
mean, I just, because like if it says that he put the lights inside of the firmament, like
I'm reading it.
we
You're right. It says it.
and we've never been, and possibly outside of the firmament. So that means like to our wherever our limitation is, that's where the sun and the moon is. Like it's not past that.
Well,
Right.
you know what I'm thinking now as we talking about this and I'm reading it. I think it's weird because in verse 8 it says, "And God called the firmament heaven." Now, that word can be used to describe a couple different things.
Exactly.
Right? It could be, so there's the eternal heaven where God resides, which no one has ever seen, right? And then the sky, the atmosphere, a part of it is referred to as heavens as well. But as we're reading it now, I'm thinking the firmament might be what we know to be outer space.
The starry heavens.
Yeah, exactly. I think that might, because I mean, when we look at it says, like you said, the firmament had the lights. Where is it here? Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. Everyone knows the stars have been used for those purposes. So that's definitely the stars, right? And those are definitely in outer space. So, I mean, it just seems to me and that also kind of makes sense that that's dividing, from our perspective, our waters on earth from the waters that are probably in uh, the eternal heaven that God lives in. Is there no water there? I mean, why wouldn't there be? Right?
That's a good way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it.
Because I mean, isn't it said that there's going to be a river? I think somewhere in Revelation, one of the chapters towards the end, there'll be a river flowing, right? I
From
can't
the
remember
seed of
exactly.
God. Yeah.
It's gonna flow
So
like four directions or something like that.
yeah, and so I mean, I wouldn't think there'd be a reason for there not to be water in that eternal heaven where God resides. So it could be just that space is that firmament.
And that's the other thing, not to jump around with the questions and stuff, but like, that's the other thing too. Like scientists like have the makeup of water. Everybody knows that. Like nobody knows chemistry or anything else, but everybody knows H2O, right? But it's like that's the one thing, like at least to date, that I haven't seen documented, and other people have said as well, that they can't replicate is water. And then there's no mention in the Bible of God creating water, like either. So I think like I've always thought like this, like such like real special principles and mysteries with water that we don't even really consider, because I
Yeah.
mean we just have it at our disposal. But like when we really think about like how destructive water can be, like how many different things you can use water to like build or to even help heal the body and to sustain, like it's just
Yeah.
there's so many different things with it.
Yeah, that's a crazy point, because I mean, God gave us the human mind, which the human mind, y'all know what the human mind can do, man. Look at all the things that the mind can build, man. But there's one loophole, that water. Just like how you said, he never gave us the ability to try to generate water on our own. And if we were, shoot, these fools will probably be in Mars right now. You know what I'm saying? But just because of that one thing that we all need, water. You're stuck right here with everybody else.
No, no,
So
that's a good.
that's an awesome point, man. Nah, that water is it's fascinating what how you saying the same thing that we all need is the same thing that God used to destroy the earth. You know, very interesting.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And
Nah, I mean, real quick, like we could definitely do a whole pod on water, by the way, like because like that's like you said, a huge topic, like a huge subject, just to even like think about like the concept of what it is. Like I always, the point you brought up in terms of like the spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. Like there's that part which is like in the very beginning, and it's like there is no mention of that being created. Like it's just there. Like I'm not saying it's not created by God, but it was there before he even started that process. Let's put it that way. Like so, like it's always been there. Like that property of water. Like you said, like our bodies are mostly made of water. The earth is mostly covered in water. If you look at anything around your house, anything that you own, anything, water was somehow used to make it was water was somehow involved in that process to make it some way, shape, or
and
form. And so it's like it's a huge topic. Huge topic. Go ahead.
and then even as you say that too, like when it says God says let us make man in our image, like if our body's made almost entirely of water, then maybe like angelic bodies to a certain extent might be made up of water
More.
to a degree, because we're made in his likeness. So I mean that's a real good thing, I mean, just to kind of consider. But the other thing I was looking at too is like one of the oldest living things created, documented, was like the grass, the trees, the herbs, and stuff like that. And that's another point where not even science can refute. Like, I think they also said, like, the trees, they can clearly see that the trees has probably been here before man, and for like animals and stuff like that, just from like different samples or whatever they can collect. So it's like it's points in creation where it's like it's right in your face and like they can't do nothing with it. And I was even looking too, like right now the oldest living tree is like 5,000 years old. And it's like, man, like I was thinking, like if we didn't like get on God's nerves to the point where he was like, man won't live past the day, like imagine like how long like we could have lived if the trees like lived to be 5,000, 3 to 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, I always thought that stuff is real interesting because sometimes there's scientists who will date the universe billions of years ago and stuff like that, and even I feel like that happens even with dinosaur bones that they find. They existed billions of years ago, stuff like that. So they have their methods that they use to do these things, carbon dating. Although I've heard there's been issues with that method and stuff like that, but it's interesting for sure, man. There's so much.
So like, all right, so chronologically, right, as far as like the oldest living creatures go, the animals of the sea got created first on the day 4, right? And then sometimes too, like we always, I don't know exactly how long it took, but a day in God's eyes is 1,000 years to us. So technically, the animals in the sea could have been around for about 1,000 years before any other creatures was, around and swimming and populating and what have you, right? So that's one thing, because we can, and then there's even like, there's people now, like TikTok is crazy, man. Shout out to TikTok, but it's like the mysteries of the sea. I don't know if like y'all seen any of them hashtags, and it's like all like different things people are starting to find in the ocean now, like they didn't see before, and it's like,
yeah. So many creatures they didn't discover in the ocean. I don't know, was it 50 or 60% of the ocean hasn't been discovered yet, right?
Nah.
So I mean, it's same thing again. Water, right? It's just this is just a mysterious thing, right? The water, and then the creatures that actually live in the water, right? And to kind of go back on your question you said about the land was created before us, so it's supposed to be our resource, right? So water, the land, the trees, everything. We need all of that in order to live and live healthy, right? You can, when you look at the leaves, when you look at the way that it's designed, it's kind of made up like our veins, right? It's same kind of makeup. And I mean, I don't want to touch on but when you think about all the medicines that they create out there, right? None of that can compare to what God actually placed on earth for us, which is the greens and the original herbs, right? So
Yeah. No, just to get into the nature part real quick with DJ, like if you think about it, like the trees and that nature part, the grass of the earth and all that, they give us oxygen, you know what I'm saying? And we breathe that in and we live. And as we live, saying we live. But when we die, we turn into dirt, we turn into fertilizer that gives them life, you know what I'm saying? So it's a never ending cycle when it comes to that,
yeah,
and us in nature, like it's
yeah,
connected. Like
Circle of life.
God put his system in place, and it's like, I
yeah,
still don't wonder. I still wonder how people question it, but it's whatever. There's a whole system in place that is just there that works perfectly in balance. That like,
hmm
once again, I'm the balance guy, but
No, yeah, it's funny you said. All right. So to answer the question, I feel like they said sea animals were here first. So scientists believe that where water actually came from was that before Earth was ever developed, it was just one big solid rock, and it was collided by another Earth called Theia, and therefore water was inside this. And then as it got closer to the sun, and then I don't know. This could be where the big bang comes in, and then we believe it's light. That's what we feel. But scientists believe that the Big Bang theory and everything like that. So water was already within this planet that we were in. Therefore, water creates life. When water creates life, then there comes, this is just how, like you said, the circle of life, and this is what scientists believe. So that's what it's just. There's a
I
back.
ain't
There's
taking
just
part in that.
it just it just continues, and but
Yeah.
as time goes on, we weren't looking like how we was looking billions of years ago. You know what I'm saying? We are changing and evolving as people, and therefore, who's to tell what we're gonna look like? As time goes on,
Evolution.
because
Yeah.
and it all has to do with water. Whatever is in water, like you said, we can't duplicate that. It's just that's one power that we don't have a way of understanding it, but we just understand it, but we don't understand it. You know what I mean?
Now hold your
And
point.
then,
Hold your point, Fortunato. And just to add on that, on the water with the animals and everything, it's actually like 80% of the ocean is unexplored.
Oh, is it 80?
It's
a
like
lot.
80. I
Even
thought it was
more.
even higher. I
Yeah.
looked it up real quick. It's
Yeah.
like 80% to this point has
Wow.
not been
Wow.
explored. That's the overwhelming majority. So there's
Wow.
so much that's in the water we don't even know what's going on, but it's crazy.
and then to that point too, like, so just to refute, like, not to deviate too much, but just to refute, like, the mermans and the mermaids and stuff like that. Like, it says that God created the creatures of the sea and allowed them to multiply and stuff. So I don't think, like, that would refute them being like people in the ocean, and you know what I'm saying? Because and if there was some form, they wouldn't at least have a chance for salvation because they weren't considered like man. They were considered creatures. So I mean, I think that would in itself just refute that
So,
theory. Just
so you
if it,
trying to say something like the city of Atlantis, where
Hey, people's
well, I
say
think that's
that is.
different. That's different. I think there's cities obviously that's probably went underwater, but I don't think the city started underwater
Okay.
because then that would cause there to be like a fallacy with the creation as far as they're just being creatures in the water. So, unless they were just, some kind of Bigfoot type of creatures without really capacity to think like man or souls, then I guess, but that's a stretch. So,
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm. Oh, you
so
digging deep with that.
and then even with the water too, like it's just like because when you go down to a certain degree, like the water gets super cold for one, where you got to have certain type of gear on, and but then the pressure of the water is
Mhm.
and
That's
boy,
what
you can preach a whole sermon about the pressure of the water, but it's just like it's just so many different properties, and then they've even used water in like torture measures,
yeah.
like just dripping water on people's forehead like for
Waterboarding.
hours.
Waterboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be one of the strongest forces on Earth. If you that pressure down there, like that's what is considered as one of the strongest forces on Earth. Like,
So all right, so we got the land creatures mapped out, but all right, so now the animals on Earth. Well, first of all, the land creatures and the fowl of the air were both created at the same time. So you're not even going to touch the fowl of the air, but like for the land creatures on Earth, technically they were made the same day as man, right? But they were made before man. So who's to say how much time passed between when man and animals got created? And the reason I say that is because like, there's people who say like, man did not exist when dinosaurs were on Earth. And then, people say like, well, animals and man were created at the same time, so they had to have coexisted. So nothing.
So verse
the
25,
Lamb of
right?
God.
It says, God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And then verse 26, and God said, let us make man in our image and our likeness. And then down in verse 20, what is it, 29? Or actually down to verse 31. That's basically where the 6th day ends, right? So biblically, they were created on the same day. I think the question that pops up a lot is, how long were these days? Were these days 24-hour days as we understand them to be now in our life, or were they something different? From what I understand, I don't think there's any reason to believe it's some different day period outside of 24 hours. I think it was the same day. I don't know that there's any, I don't know what evidence there is to suggest otherwise. But I think they were around the same time, because if we continue on, we know that Adam also named all of the animals.
Mm.
So if Adam named them, he had to be there with them, right? So, so yeah, I mean, I don't think while they were made before, technically, as we're reading through,
But
he was still there with them.
just to hit the ball back over the net, like the trees and stuff was here before Adam, but I'm pretty sure he had a job in naming those as well.
Well,
Did he?
I didn't see
I don't know
that.
about naming them. I know like he had
Did
to
he?
tend to
Tend
the
to them.
trees.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
didn't name no trees.
Yeah, but
So
but
the fruit, so the
yeah.
names of the fruit just apple was just, oh, this looks like an apple. Like,
I mean,
Man.
how do names come up for things today?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the
Adam
process.
didn't make those.
Things.
no, I didn't say he didn't make him, but he said like he named the beast of the field, even though the beast was created before
Yeah.
man. But I'm sure he also would have named the fruit and the vegetables, like he would have given it a name. Like God didn't just tell him like, oh, I made this already. This is the apple section. These are my bell peppers over here. I got some mangoes.
Yeah, mangoes only grow in July. No,
I don't know.
I got a question though. Like, to revert back to what DTA said, like he brought up a good point. With the whole time, like when we don't know how long these days were, or how many months in the year. Like who brought up time in the first place?
Oh man, that's a whole nother.
That I'm just saying, like,
Right.
I'm being facetious with it with the question though. Like it's a good point. Like, you understand, like, where does that come from?
So
Systematic oppression, brother. It's a whole nother pod. We're gonna have to do a series just on that.
that's
It's
Well,
crazy how
I mean,
time it's still the same, like it's always been though. I really don't understand. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Levi.
No, I was just saying. I mean, that's a whole nother one. Like what I was saying. I mean, we got to get into the Romans and they stuff and all that. But anyway, to kind of get into the little Adam and the animals, those guys, I think it kind of also relates to our dinosaur topic somebody brought up earlier. Um, if you look at it back then, the Earth was fresh, the Earth was new, everything was pretty good, in that sense. You look at some scriptures in the Bible. There's evidence that it took like two grown men to carry one bunch of grapes. So it's like everything back then was bigger, like the food, the people. So it's not hard to believe that animals were bigger back then either. Like, I think there was a lot of animals that were a lot bigger than what they were today. So it's like, how DTH is afraid of lizards. Like, they were probably like 50 times the size that they are now. So it's like, imagine what you would have had to do with one of those. It's just, but that's probably what people think of dinosaurs, and then pull up those bones, and it's like, oh, this is a huge bone. So like, this was a dinosaur. But look, it was probably just a big animal from back then, because the earth was fresh and everything was bigger, better, everything lived older, everything was stronger. And now we have all this pollution, we have all these things that are making us
That's
weaker
a good point.
as time
But
goes on. Go ahead.
yeah, no, that's a good point. And I mean, the only thing I would say to that is like, why haven't they found like as much like just human skeletons than that they would? Because they got whole museums with dinosaur bones, but like they wouldn't have like they got one really tall man that they found in Croatia somewhere, and like what I'm saying, like it's not as much. But I mean, I think that's a really good point. Like the
Probably in the
animals,
ocean.
yeah, I mean, animals could have been like what we considered like possum size and stuff to them now, but So the other thing I wanted to ask y'all too, as we start wrapping it up, is, and this one might be a bigger one. Hopefully we can get it real quick. Is do y'all think for real Adam and Eve was the first people? And the reason I say this, I'm gonna start it with this, right? Because in the same chapter that DTH was reading, it said, first of all, God said, let us make man in our image, male and female, he created them, right? Boom. And that was day 6. Then on the 7th day, he rested, the water hewn the land or whatever. And then he seen that there was no man to till the garden. And then it says that he made man from the dust. So do you think like he created people in abundance, and then like at this point he specifically made Adam at this time for a sole purpose? Or is that all just the same, and it's just a recap in that following chapter?
That's how I've always understood it. Honestly, I don't know if it's a recent thing. It's probably not just a recent thing, but it seems that question has been raised a lot lately to me: is were Adam and Eve really the first? Were the other people there? I know people believe different things. I think they're the first two. They're the first two that I mentioned. And I don't think that, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that there were other people there with them. I think.
Nah, yeah. I mean, they was the first two mentioned, but I personally don't think that they were the only one. No, I mean,
Why do y'all think?
I
Do
was
you
gonna
go ahead.
kind of break it down a little more, but I was gonna go a little deeper with it. I was gonna go to when they had their kids, right? So Cain and Abel. So when the murder took place, was it Cain murdered Abel, right? So when he murdered him, he actually was pleading out to God to not cast him out into the other lands, because he was saying the other people was going to kill me. So I'm like, who's the other people? I'm kind of phrasing it in my own language, but so that lets me know, like, all right, so who else out there? Why are you scared? There has to be other people there. It's not just it couldn't be just them four. So it's many things that I've seen in Genesis where I'm like, all right,
Also,
something.
to kind of get into that point too, just to kind of even earlier with that whole Adam and Eve thing, like if you look at it, he says on the 6th day, God says he created male and female. But then, like, I guess later on, there's like a whole breakdown of how the female came to be. Like, there's a whole reason of why she's here. Like, you get into the whole relationship topic, of course, and all that. But like, there's a whole reason why he created female. There's a whole reason, like, that happened. Like, there was a whole process. It was a surgery. Like people like to describe that was the first surgery ever performed. Like, so it's like, they said there's male and female here, but then it's like, I guess, is it really expounded on in those later chapters? Is how you're saying the DTH? Like, because I would love to believe they are the first, because I guess it's what I've been taught my whole life. So, but reading this here is like, there is some kind of room for interpretation to say that there is other males and females, I guess. And I do believe that also. Like, I do believe maybe after Adam and Eve, there was other people created, possibly. But I don't know about before. See,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Adam and Eve are the first. I don't see why. I don't see what evidence there is to believe otherwise. I believe they were the first, and Cain and Abel were the first two kids they had, followed by Seth and many others. Right?
oh yeah,
Because
there's many other children around them.
they had plenty of kids.
But what
Hold on,
record
wait.
is it that he created other humans though?
But listen. I understand the TBN version of what we've all been like, grew up on, right? But what I'm saying is, if you look at the verse analytically, like look at it, just look at what it's saying, like, because there's no recap of the grass and the trees like being made, like why would there? Why isn't there a recap of? Hold on, wait. Let me finish. Why isn't there a recap of the other creations, but there's a recap of this one? Like, I mean, and I'm not to say like I don't believe, like, that Adam and Eve could have been the first one, because that's how I came up also. But I'm just saying, looking at the verse, like it looks like there could be an opportunity where there was male and female created, and God created Adam for a specific purpose.
Yo, I got
And
another question too.
And that was broken down, from there, for the purpose of whatever. So go ahead. And hold on, wait. And just before you go, hold on. And the reason why I say that too is because when he was giving out the laws to the Israelites, the Levitical like laws and stuff, he was telling them like to not do like the other nations have done, which have angered God. So it's always been like other people, but he's always been focused on like, a narrative, or focused on like a specific area, whatever. So go ahead there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of always had this question in my mind. It was just the reason why I think there was other people. It was just like, all right, so we know, okay, God created the land, God had created the people, you know what I'm saying? God created the light, but how did the serpent come about? You know what I'm saying? Because it seemed like the serpent was just kind of there already. You know what I'm saying? So like that was kind of always the question in my mind is like, okay, so how did he get here? Was he already tempting other people, and he kind of just slipped over to Adam and Eve's spot where they at? And like, all right, let me try to tempt y'all now. So I don't know. I just always had the question like, why was never a mention of how? I mean, I know there's later down in the scripture where they kind of talk about like how he got cast down, but Ezekiel. In the beginning, I get
you, like how he just became a serpent. He just there, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, right. It's a whole question.
Well, it's funny you say that, because it's look at the part in the verse where it says he made image like man. So it could be others that weren't considered what we consider as what humans are, but who couldn't say it could be something else? I'm just saying, because at the end of the day, it says in the image like man.
So you mean like Neanderthals?
Yeah. What's the word? What's that word? Homo. We evolved into
Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens.
Yeah. So we evolved into Homo sapiens, and take the verse, in the image like man. What was it out there? What did it look like? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a good point. I mean, I think that it's clear to me that they were the first humans, but
David ain't going for it.
I think that's what it is. I mean, DJ, you asked a little while ago, I think, where it says they got other kids. I mean, chapter 5 is a little further from the creation story, but it talks about them having many more sons and daughters. So obviously they populated the earth as they were supposed to do. But I mean, it's definitely a good topic, and there's probably more research to be done. So,
well, there you have it, man. This has been another another tantalizing Friday. Yes, I should say. How it feel, man. I hope you enjoyed. This has been the Hold Your Point podcast. We are the Hold Your Point podcast crew. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Tap in on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your platforms at for your podcast, man. Until next time, we out of here.
Peace.